Hello all, welcome to another amazing episode of Beyond Borders. I am Srividya Karaturi, a PhD graduate from School of Media and Communications at USM. I am the host for this episode where we'll be talking about working cultures. Being an Indian, I'll be talking about working cultures in India, and let's hear from our guests.
Hi guys, my name is Wisdom Kemakulam. I am from Nigeria. I'm a polymer science and engineering major, and I'm minoring in biological sciences too. Yeah.
Namaste, my name is Papuza. I am a junior with a major in computer science and a minor in economic data analysis. I am from Nepal.
Thank you so much for being here. So as you know, today we'll be talking about working culture. So in India, the working culture is evolving, I would say, but it is still, working culture is loaded with amount of stress. And we have, our working culture is more of the superior, and then you have the people working under, and it's always one boss, and it's normal for us to be doing the bossing sessions. So how is the basic normal working culture in your countries?
Alright, so for Nigeria, the work culture is like more, it's split into like the professional guys and like the guys in business. You get, so we have people that work in corporate, in offices and everything, like the regular 9 to 5, and then you also have people who work in businesses, in online businesses and physical businesses. So it's just either one. You get, it's just like really cool. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, in the context of Nepal, like in other developing countries, it is also like working culture in Nepal is also evolving. But it also depends on the organizations. Like different companies have different working culture. In the same way, like government institutions have kind of different, whereas like the private ones have like their own, like if the private organizations are, let's say, they are international organization, then obviously they will have kind of what we see outside, like in some developed countries. But if it like small startups, then there could be, like as you told, in India. So there could be something like superior, inferior, but so it totally depends on what organizations we are dealing with.
Yeah, we have similar kind of things in India. So even government organizations are now leaning more towards Western working culture, more going with 9 to 5 jobs, but that is kind of more, we are adopting more Western type of working cultures. So coming to that, we work almost majority of the organizations adopt Monday to Friday, and then the week is off, wherein most of the companies encourage, on paper they do encourage that we don't want you to work on weekends, but they see people who work on weekends or they do overtime as the eligible one, or he is the most efficient employees if he's working overtime or if he's working weekends. So is that the same kind of culture?
And I mean, it's true. In Nigeria, no one has like a one job. Everybody has like one major, source of income, and has like an extra, income. So you find people that work in corporate, in offices, that also have like an online job, that also have like a physical business that they engage with at home and everything. So I think Nigeria's work culture has like made people embrace being flexible, being versatile. Like if you want to survive, like really survive at home, you actually have to do more than just one. Anywhere you can find that is legal, that you can make some money for yourself. I think it's just how it is at home, I guess.
In Nepal, like the week starts on Sunday, so it is like from Sunday to Friday, and in general, the working time is from 10 to 5.
Okay, that's good.
And it, like there are companies where like overtime is provided, but in generally government institutions, they are strictly like 10 to 5. So again, like it depends on which company we are talking about.
Yeah.
So do you have like any leaning towards which type of working culture? So for us, most of most of the people or population in India work towards or lean towards working in MNCs, and they want their weekends off, and then 9 to 5 is a popular type. So do you have any lean towards these type of work cultures, or like do people tend to go to government jobs, or do people tend to go to private organizations? How is that in your countries?
Well, in Nepal, like traditionally, government job is like the golden ticket.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true.
If you have a government job,
It's like
your dignity in the society will be at the extreme level.
Yes.
And there is also a culture of dowry, which you must be
Yes,
aware
yes.
of. Like generally, if men have a government job, their demand for dowry is like, it's very, very high.
We used to have that, but now it shifted to if you
Yes.
have an NRI job or if you work in a good MNC, then you can demand more dowry.
Yeah.
But 20 years back, if you are in a government job, you can demand as much dowry as possible. That used to be there.
But like in India, even in Nepal also, there is like technological development, like tech boom is going on. So that is why we are seeing like a lot of IT companies, which are generally like they are like branches of MNCs, like big international companies. So people working there, they make like their salary is a lot high than what we see in general government institution. So like gradually the working culture of Nepal is also kind of shifting from public oriented, like government oriented, to now slowly it is shifting towards private sectors.
And which is like true. I mean, many years ago, say probably in the 1990s or the early 2000s, people were like more concentrated on government jobs, on fixed jobs. Like if you graduate from school with AM first class, you automatically have a job. It's waiting for you. It's like huge bonuses and salaries and everything. But I think of recent with the economic recession and everything, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So even if you have a first class or whatever, that is practically useless-ish. You get, so it is really not as important as you having like a skill set.
Yeah.
So that has shifted the working culture from being in offices and like strictly in government and everything to like a more hands-on kind of businesses and like more you. So like we don't for now we don't really have like a fixed it's government or not. It's just what you can do. Just try and sell yourself and like make some money as you can.
Yeah, that sounds more interesting, and I really like how flexible your working cultures could be.
It is.
So you mentioned your country does have like two kind of jobs, and it's normal for them. So do they ever get a break, and what type of breaks do they get from work? So from our country, it's like they hardly can ever take a break. Most of the MNCs, and even except for the government organization, most of the MNCs have like 12 or 15 holidays per year. They can either use it once at like all at a time, or they can take it one per month, but that's limited, and the break times are not really encouraged. And you know, a person, if he's not working without a break, he's considered as like super efficient employee of the year and things like that. So when you're working two jobs, how do you balance that break? And you know?
I mean, I think the idea of break only like applies to people in corporate jobs. So just like you said, there are like how do I put it now? There are like specific times that you have. You get like to take a break at these times, and you can use like you only have a limit. So you should be careful like as to how much you use or how like little you use and stuff like that. So but it's not too much, and it's not really encouraged to like take breaks, because in some companies, if you take too much breaks, they actually take it out of your pay at the end of the month, and you would not really appreciate that. And if you're working like a second job, so because you spend most of your time in like your main job, you kind of all breaks you have, you just use it for like your online business or physical business. So the concept of break is just like, it is only strictly followed when you're like in a corporate job. But if you want to make money and it's not like involved in a corporate job, then I don't think the concept of break exists outside of that corporate job.
Okay, that's interesting.
First of all, like in like government organizations, like based on what I have seen, Generally, they do have a break for, depending on organization, for around like 30 minutes to even 1 hour.
Every day?
Generally, yes.
Okay,
but
that's
like,
cool.
but in recent time, I heard somewhere like the rule have changed from 1 hour to 30 minutes. But I'm not exactly sure which organizations is that. And in private organizations, like I'm not exactly sure about big corporates what their policies, but they should have like if they are like. They should have some standard about breaks as well. There should be like some break time depending on the organizations.
Yeah. So as we are talking about breaks, so in our country, like along with breaks, I'm not sure we do have laws. So we are not supposed to hire children over 14 years age, below 14 years age to work with us. So and we don't really have strict laws when coming to how many hours you can work per week. It's again totally dependent on the private organizations. In your countries, does they have like they have to work for these many hours, or this is the minimum wage labor? In our countries, there is no minimum wage labor. But the only strict law we do follow with working regulations is you're not supposed to hire children, and that's the only thing. And every private organization has its own way to detect or dictate however the working cultures or whatever timings, and they have their own freedom. So how is in your countries about the working laws or ethics?
Okay, so in terms of like the hours that you can work, I think it's also determined pretty much by the private organization itself. So normally it's from 9 to 5, and you're supposed to come in at 9 and close at 5. And so there isn't like room to work like more, except like you have some work that you have to do that you could actually go home and do because every month you are on a fixed salary. So if you work overtime or undertime, you're still being paid the same. So people really don't want to work extra when they aren't being paid. Like it is very different from like here in America, where the more you work, the more you're paid. Here, at home, even if you work 80 hours when you're meant to work just 60 or so, you won't exactly. So people just don't. And in terms of age, people are you're technically not required to hire children like 8, 9, 10 or so. But like the economic situation is like hard, so corporate jobs won't technically hire children. Although there are also places like some schools which hire people that are like just through their high school and are like smart, and they're looking for like jobs. So there are instances where they hire people that are not stereotypically considered of age, just because they can kind of pay them less, and they can still get the job done, and nobody really complains because everyone needs money at some point. So anywhere they can see like money, just like it's fine, it's cool by me.
In the context of Nepal, like there are laws, but the main issue is lack of implementation plus lack of awareness of laws. Like in the context of here in America, like people are aware of like what is like the standard labor wage, also standard working hours, but awareness is lagging. Also, like in general, what I have seen, the standard is like 9 to 5 or 10 to 5 depending on organization. So again, it totally depends on the organizations.
It does depend
how much they follow the laws.
Laws, obviously organizations now decide what's the laws and things like that in my countries most of the time. So coming to networking and how people are getting a job. So it used to be a thing back in India, but now it's not. But back in a day, maybe 10 years or 20 years back, you can get a job through, if you have somebody working, if your relation, your relative is working in that company, they can, with a referral, they can get a job. But now that culture is kind of in the downfall. Nobody is now accepting, like if there is a family member and you have their referral, that's not a referral. You should have a formal professional referral. That's now becoming, how should I frame this? That's now more of a trend, is you should have a professional reference. A family reference would not work. But 10 years back, a family reference used to work. So were there any instances in your countries like that?
I mean, in Nigeria, like very much different. Back in like 10 years ago or like 20 years ago or something, we technically didn't use references. It's just if you know someone in the place that you like would like to work, and the person has like a degree of influence, you could ask them to like like to speak for you or like put in a word, for you, which could actually give you a job. So you could be qualified, you could have everything, you could be the best, but if they can see you in the sea of unemployed people who are just equally qualified, then you won't really get a shot. So if you know like someone there, your chances of being employed are like greater. So it could be a family member, it could even be a friend or anybody. Okay, so that was how it worked. But of recent now, it is much harder, and to get a job in a corporate, you either have to be like insanely good, or you have to know someone there that can speak in for you and probably like find or pull like strings to get you there. And because the majority of Nigerians don't really have that resource-ish, they kind of resort to just like physical businesses and then online businesses, just ways that they can just help themselves.
In the context of Nepal, like if it is government job, then it is handled by Public Service Commission, and this organization is like to a great extent fair and neutral. So in government job, I don't think like there is a huge interference of like connection or networking, something like that. Like you have to take exams. Generally like there are 2 exams. The first one is written. If you get certain score, then you are invited for an interview, and you have to go through the interview in a panel of like 3 or 5 members. And if you pass that interview, you will get a government job.
Yes, that's the same in India.
That is kind of a golden ticket. But in the context of private companies, so it will be, again, it depends on something that we see here in the US. Like there are different factors that play. The big factor is obviously merit, and but there could be other factors as well. Like if you have connection, or like connection with the employer itself, or someone in that team who has a good influence in the company, or that could play a role. But again, I don't think like any reputable companies like they disregard merit just because over someone who have got connection. So obviously merit should be a determining factor.
I mean, exactly, it should be actually. I mean, if you have worked hard in a university, you have like you have paid your price, you should be rewarded at the end. It's like the American dream. I mean, if you work hard at the end, you will be paid. But Nigeria's system doesn't work like that. It used to a long time ago, really long time ago, but now it is not. So even if you could have everything, you could be the best, but if someone isn't like there to put your name in front of the right people, you're really not always going to get a shot. You might in rare instances get a job, but it's so intertwined, it's so that it's just really hard for you on your own.
I think India stands somewhere in between of you both. So it's still in most of the places, even in government organization, people can pull strings and kind of get people in, but now people are more focused on self-efficiency. They want to, I want to come up on my own without using anybody's help, and that is kind of like driving the working culture away from relative references. That's what we call relatives reference. So that is one thing. And coming to skill set and networking, and when we are talking about jobs, do we, in your countries, like for example in India, we don't see all jobs as equal. One job is obviously higher than the other job. So how is it in your countries?
In the context of Nepal, 2 professions are highly regarded. They are doctors and engineers.
That's same in India.
That is why as soon as you go to high school, like 11th and 12th grade, like not just from your family, even your teachers, your principal, they suggest you, plus they provide resources only for 2 careers, which are like if you want to be a doctor, go to medical preparation center.
Yes.
And if you wanna be an engineer, go to a center.
IT set.
Yeah.
IT, yes.
So these two are highly regarded, and even I was like kind of motivated, plus I won't say pressurized, but kind of encouraged to pursue doctor because I was so-called a talented kid in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the main thing. But now, as the IT sector is booming, people are pursuing like IT fields as well. Like instead of like studying computer engineering, just study IT. So that is also changing, but gradually. But again, doctors and engineers have like highest level of respect.
Yeah. We used to do that. We don't have the equality of labor back in India. It's not a thing at all. So if you are a doctor, you'll be highly valued. If you are an engineer, you'll be valued. If you are a lawyer, you'll be valued. And all the other professions are always below that. But it is, I don't see there is a major change, but a small amount of change has started. I won't say there is no change, but a small amount of change started, and it will take a lot of time to achieve that, you know, labor equality in our country. How is it?
I mean, it's true. You know, Nigeria's work culture has like evolved so much. You know, back in like 10, 20 years or so, if you were a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, you were like the cream of the crop.
Yes.
You were every mom wanted you to marry their child or this or that. Oh my God, he's doctor and everything. But I think now many parents have become like more open-minded-ish. They now realize that the country, it doesn't really matter if you're like a doctor or a lawyer, you won't be paid enough to actually live the grand life that you want. It used to be a thing back then, but now it's not so much.
Yeah.
So some parents are still, be a doctor or like a lawyer and have like, you know, a side job. But now parents are like much more open to what's the trend now in the world. It's computers, it's AI, it's all these, it's skill sets, it's jobs and everything. So they're more encouraged, or they like encourage you more to like follow what inspires you and like be the best at that thing. So as long as it makes you money, it's like in demand, it's fine. Although it wouldn't hurt if you were like a doctor and still had extra form of income. But like it's it's just like it's how it works at home. Yeah.
It's so nice to hear that your country is kind of coming from that doctor, engineer kind of thing.
Like then it was not, like now it's
Our country has a lot of work to do. We still have to come out of that. We still having so many engineers, so many doctors just sitting there. So we had to come a lot. You wanted to say something? No. Yeah. Okay. So since you are talking about a little of pressuring from your parents, so how is your work culture or work pressure? Would there be any pressures, or how would you handle that? Would there be any brain drain in your countries? For us in computer science, that would be a brain drain. And as a doctor, you have to study a lot. So in our country, work stress is normal. So it's a normal thing. It's not a recognized thing. There are not a lot of resources that people can seek if they are having a bad day at work, or if it is a work stress and things like that. So how is work stress handled? Is it being recognized or not? Or is it being thrown under the carpet? For us, it's in the same. Only few major organizations, that too private organizations, are recognizing, okay, there is something called work stress, and I think we have to make sure that our employees are not facing any work pressure and they're not having any brain drain. But there's a lot of other organizations who technically force people to work on weekends, and you know they have a lot of work stressing environments. So.
Okay. All right. So in Nigeria, there is a lot of work stress. I mean, if you're not constantly working, if you're not constantly trying to earn an income, life will hit you, and it will hit you hard.
Okay.
So you just constantly have to always have like a source of income. Because life comes unexpectedly, and in underdeveloped countries or developing countries, I would use for Nigeria, we're not like at a point where you have stability in the sense, so anything can happen at any time, so you have to be always on your toes. So I think that creates like this intense work stress. For example, especially in private organizations, in schools, as teachers and everything, you have to work and write notes and do everything. You're being underpaid, but if you don't work as much, you won't get paid. So like there is like it, at the end of the day, it builds up this immense work stress. Like you see people are tired, they are like aging faster, but they can't stop working, because if you stop, you have a family to feed, you have things to do, and you stop, it means that the money doesn't come. And many people are like too scared to like quit their job and like go out there and search for like their own path, because of the uncertainty that what if it doesn't work out, you know? So many people just have this stress, and it just goes on for like years and years and years, and probably until Nigeria has like a good working sector or something, it probably would continue to happen for like millennia. I don't know. I hope not.
In the context of not just Nepal, like everywhere, like work stress, to some extent it is a natural thing. But how much stress you will have in your workplace depends on your position, your company, how much responsibility you have.
Yeah, it's true.
But in the context of Nepal specifically, like I don't think there are any organizations or resources that are available. Plus, even if they are available, people are not much aware of those resources, and I don't think they are much effective in combating work stress among employees. So that is one thing which I believe Nepal should really work on.
I think India has a lot of work to do over there. Like, only we kind of some Google or Amazon, if they are giving some stress-free environments, you know, providing sleeping pods, those are being popular, and seeing them, some of the MNCs are adopting, but most of the organizations are not really providing any resources for the employees to deal with it. So we have a lot of work in doing that. So coming to that, it was really nice having you both here. Any final thoughts on you want to share on how exactly on a final thought on how your work culture in your country?
I mean, I feel like Nigeria has like this spirit of work. I mean, everyone is meant, from the moment you are born, you're like meant to always like work and work hard and make your parents proud, make yourself proud and everything. But I also feel like because of how the work system is structured, things are like very hard for people. I mean, it is hard for people to like reach their maximum potential, and it is in these cases that we experience brain drain, in which people like massively leave, the intellectual power of like a country massively leaves, and it goes like how we're here, you know, in America. Because the working system at home is like, it's bad that even if, no matter how smart you are, how promising you are, you just can't reach the potential that you will in a system that is built against you, you understand? So I think Nigerians hustle a lot. We are inventive, we are smart, we're talented, we just like to adapt. We have online skills in crypto, in physical skills, in everything. We just want to do everything to make a living, and I feel like if Nigeria was like in like a stage like how America is now, Nigeria would be like a first world country. I've seen how people work and act, and it's like, I'm proud, you know. I mean, it's great, but like before we can get there, it will probably take like 50 years to 100, because we have corruption, we have misappropriation of funds and everything. So like everything it just comes down to, it will take time, but I think we will get to a point where you will want to work, and you'll work at your own terms, and you'll be happy, and you actually do productive work.
In the context of Nepal, you used earlier the term of brain drain. So I want to talk about that. Like, brain drain is probably at the moment the biggest issue which Nepal is facing, because a lot of youths, particularly like high school graduates and like college graduates, as soon as they complete their graduation, they leave the country and go to Western countries, generally first of all for education, and after that they get settled abroad. And that is why Nepal is facing a huge scarcity of skilled manpower. And even those like so-called unskilled jobs, they like, for manpower in those areas, they also have kind of lack of like high paying jobs. That is why they also migrate to Middle Eastern countries, like Gulf countries. And that is why one of the biggest issue that Nepal is facing regarding work culture is lack of manpower, and which is hurting and will continue to hurt as long as the issue is not sorted out.
Certainly, and one more,
Final thoughts, yes.
Or thoughts, yeah. So if you are trying to build wealth or something like that in a country like Nigeria, you wouldn't really rely on your academic qualifications. I mean, those are good. You could be a doctor or like an engineer or something. Those are amazing. But if you're trying to build a wealth that lasts generations, you probably would have to have skills. You would probably be involved in selling and buying. You find things in demand and you sell and you upskill, that sort of thing. But if you're looking at working a corporate job, even if it pays you $1 million every month or something, along the line we have job instability, so you could lose that job at any time. But if you have a skill, like especially a skill that you can like sell anywhere you are, you're like more protected in the sense that you can always recreate wealth, even if it's like taken away. So I think Nigerians are like moving towards the path of being self-sufficient in the sense that we can now like find skills of our own and work on those skills and sell them, than looking at jobs that don't come. And mostly because we can't go abroad easily. I mean, it's hard, but like, it's just we hustle a lot and we'll get there, eventually, I guess.
I think India is again situated, like when I look from a working culture of India on a third person point of view or a bird point of view, I can say that India, we have a lot of labor, and if for one job we have 10 people applying for it, so it is highly competitive. You should have the skills, and it is always a plus if you have a reference or somebody who can bring up your name or kind of pull strings for you. Those two things work a lot, and we do have the brain drain. We are trying to come out of it, we are trying to recognize it, so that's where we are now. So that is one positive thing in our working culture, but we still have to improve a lot on how we can balance it, how we can achieve the equality of labor. So that's where we are right now, India is. But it is. Thank you so much for being on this one. It was a very insightful and good discussion we had. So that is the end of this episode, Beyond Borders. Thank you so much for watching, and be on a lookout for an interesting episode.